All right, a new report published today shows public debt is set to skyrocket to $1.75 trillion in the next 5 years, thanks to an $800 billion coronavirus spending spree from Commonwealth, state and territory governments. Analysis from the Centre for Independent Studies forecasts Commonwealth net debt hitting 61% of GDP by 2024. Now, the author of this report, CIS Senior Fellow and former official in the New South Wales Treasury, Robert Carling, joins me now from Sydney with more. I tell you what, Robert, well done on this report. I don't think we talk about debt enough, and certainly not in this sort of detail. These are eye-watering numbers. You say the era of Australia having strong public finances is over. You make the sobering point today that cumulative deficits are going to push debt as a percentage of GDP to the sort of levels we haven't seen since we're trying to pay back debt and all the damage left after, financial damage left after the Second World War. So how do we fix this?
Well, a lot of economists are very complacent about this, I think. They are saying that it will sort of be managed easily once the economy resumes growth and we get more inflation. The debt burden will tend to shrink automatically over time, as it did after the Second World War. I think that's a very complacent view. It would require years of strong economic growth or a rapid return to budget surpluses, or at least balanced budgets, or a continuation of these ultra-low interest rates that we have. And none of those things can be counted on to happen. In the most likely situation we face is that the debt will continue to increase over the next few years. It might then stabilise and shrink slightly as a percentage of the economy. But unless governments become more proactive about trying to manage it down, essentially through a more disciplined approach to their budgets, then I don't think we're going to see any rapid decline. And indeed, if we have another crisis in the not too distant future, it could skyrocket again from this already very high level that we're approaching.
That's just the point you make there about growth being the way you sort of deal with budget repair. That's just, in my view, lazy public budgeting. The IMF, we know this week, is saying that the economy is forecast to grow by 3.5% this year and just under 1% in 2022. I mean, all of that's terrific, but you've still got to deal with waste. You've still got to deal with spending. You've got to keep the pressure on governments of whatever persuasion to go through and remove redundant spending, remove redundant programs, things that they might have put in place for a while, for a purpose a few years back that they just keep rolling over because they're too afraid to have the public and political fight about stopping the spending. That's where some of the focus has got to be, surely.
Exactly, and we've already been through 10 years of this, you can say, after when debt increased rapidly with the global financial crisis and the fiscal stimulus measures that were taken in response to that. And then in about 2010, 2011, we faced this large debt and governments started to think about what are we going to do about this. But we spent 10 years of them not doing very much. And although the federal government did reach a balanced budget in 2018-19, that had more to do with income tax bracket creep than with expenditure discipline. So I fear that we're going to face another 10 years of argument about this. The political landscape is going to be dominated by this issue again, and for the reasons that you state, perhaps not very much will be achieved in the way of disciplining expenditure. and deficits will continue, and the debt will not go down, as so many are complacently assuming.
Absolutely, and I particularly commend your focus on state debt. We often talk about federal debt. It seems to be, the numbers are something that people remember better than state debt, but that is a great concern to me, particularly the public service wages bill. Robert Carling, thank you very much for your time today, and I'll keep looking for your reports. Terrific report today out in the Australian. Thank you.
You're very welcome.